That's what we were doing. But they didn't have to bring that ballot back to you. The first ballot that was already mailed to them, they didn't have to bring it back. I remember during that 1 month period, maybe I got like some of them voluntarily bring. I got maybe around 5 or 10 of them total. That's all. But you are not required to bring it back. Just fill out a form, then you will get another ballot. You complete the ballot in person and you're done. Then I will receive that ballot into the system.
So now the other people that worked in your center, did they require the original ballot or an affidavit before they issued a new ballot?
No, none of us were trained to do that.
None of them did that?
No.
And that's what the law requires, correct?
For the Michigan's official manual, yes. If you lost your ballot or you have a damaged ballot, yeah.
And that's so somebody doesn't vote twice, right?
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the first ballot. I don't know.
Well, that's the whole point, right?
Yes.
And about 32,500 of those ballots, you estimate, were issued without spoiling the original ballot?
I mean,
the period of time you were there.
I mean, yeah, if you audit the file with the City of Detroit Election Department, from the QEF, you can find out how many ballots were spoiled, how many ballots were rejected, how many ballots were deleted. All those things you can find from so the exact number, I mean, it's about right. I mean, I can speak to my center where I work, the Common Area Recreation Center location.
The little musician is doing some great work there.
I would say how many ballots I spoiled. The first 2 weeks there were lots of, third week of October. I would say around.
This is not much here.
I would say around 100 ballots maybe I spoiled. I may be wrong, but I don't know exact number. But
you think it's
I can go back to my.
Sorry, Jesse. Do you think it's 100 or 32,000?
I mean, for the end, there are 23 satellite sites. Okay, some satellite sites are more people, depending on the area. So, yeah, you can say around 30,000, about 25,000 to 30,000 maybe.
And in any event, those would be.
Please, you're out of order, members. You're out of order. Representative LeGrand, you're out of order. Let them continue. Representatives, you're out of order. Please continue.
And those would be, whatever they are, those would be totally illegal ballots, correct?
I don't know what happened to the first ballot that was mailed to the citizens. I don't know. That was not returned. But we were issuing a second ballot and they were voting in person at these locations. I really don't know what happened. Whether they shredded those ballots or they trashed it, I don't know. But it was not returned to the center or to the satellite sites.
On November 4, 2020, which is after the election, you were assigned now to the TCF Center, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And you arrived there at 8:30 in the morning.
Yes.
And what were your duties there?
When I got there, at the front door, actually it was on the ground level of Cobo TCF Center. I think that's where the auto show usually takes place, the big one, about 1,000 by 1,000 square feet, maybe. Big one, yeah. So it was packed. So when I went to the front desk, I talked to the person at the front desk. I showed her my badge. I had a badge from the election department. I talked to her and told her I was asked to come and report here 8:30 by my supervisor. And then she said, okay, wait, let me go and get the supervisor on this floor. And she went and came back with the supervisor. I forgot that supervisor's name. So he asked me, what were you doing at the election department? Then I said I was a processor. And she said, oh, why did you come follow me? Then he took me to the podium, in the middle of the Kobo District Center podium. And he gave me the laptop. And also, this gave me some, okay, then I was waiting there. I logged into the laptop. And at that point, I noticed Mr. Chris Thomas. She brought to me and she said, just enter date November 2nd and receive this ballot in the QDF. This is, and also some of the ballots, the envelope has sticky note, cannot find in the poll book. Some of them had it. So I took the first ballot and started, opened up the QDF file, and I noticed that ballot was not received. The processor, whoever issued that ballot in person, or maybe that ballot was mailed, it came in postal mail, or it was picked up from the drop-off box. I don't know. There were not one postage stamp or nothing on those envelopes. So I don't know the way, whether it was in person, postal mail, or from the drop-off box, pick up from the drop-off box. So those ballots, some of them didn't have the county board on the address label, no counting board printed. Some of the envelope didn't have ballot number printed on the address label. So, but the thing really concerned me when I saw those ballots, all of them were open. Some of them were upside down.
What does that mean that they were all open? What's the significance of that?
You are not supposed to open. You have to receive the ballot into the system first. You cannot open the ballot. It should be.
What do you have to do first before you open the ballot?
So when you receive the ballot, the first thing you should do is, first you have to search the voter. You enter the last name, space, first name of the voter. You scan, and then you will locate that voter. Then you will get the absentee voter details. You will match the signature on the absentee ballot return envelope with the signature in the file. So in the qualified voter file. Once it is verified, then you have to receive it. You have to receive that into the system. Once you receive it, then you have to place your initials, ballot number. Actually, you have to place twice your initials on the ballot return envelope. One for the date you received, one for the ballot number. So that's required. You are required to do that as a processor.
Was that being done?
No.
Was that being done by anyone else that you could see in that entire facility?
No. Actually, I was
told. You
were
the only one doing it?
No. When I was trying to do that, the required step-by-step process, I was told by my supervisor, Ms. Aldridge, no, don't look for anything. Do not check anything. Just enter the date November 2nd. Keep going. We have lots of ballots. We have to finish this. I need you to do as fast as you can. Just enter November 2nd. Keep going. Then I did one or two of them like that. But this is a really I felt so bad because once you modify the QVF file, you can see the username, who modified that file, the last day that data was modified. So if you click, you will see who modified. So when I clicked that, it was my username and the date, it will show. So basically, even though the receive date was ended as November 2nd, when you click the QVF file, you will see username, my username, and the date I entered is November 4th. That's not right.
I'm sorry, Jesse. I didn't quite get that. What did you say?
See, when you, okay, I did just like my supervisor told me. This is at the TCF center. At the satellite sites, my supervisor there never instructed me anything like that. We were receiving, the minute I get the ballot, we were receiving the ballot into the system, same date. And everything was doing. The person was sitting next to me. She was doing the same thing. She kind of told me, oh, Jesse, we were doing this since 9 p.m. yesterday. It's November 3rd. We didn't even go home. We were doing. We really need your help, to complete this, to finish. So basically what they were doing is entering all these ballots into the QVF so they can count those ballots. That's what I thought. But they were not following the procedure. Because when you are receiving the ballot, and also backdating, when you are doing that on November 4th, it should have been done. The deadline was November 3rd, 9 p.m. That's the deadline for you to receive the ballot, absentee ballot, into the system. So, matter of fact, on November 3rd, I had to stay till 8:30. Even though the polls were closed at 8 p.m., I had to work till 8:30 to complete receiving all the ballots that received into the satellite sites. So all the processes, they are required to do that. 9 p.m. November 3rd. At 8 p.m. is the poll closing time, and we will get 1 hour grace period. So 9 p.m. it should be completed. For that, we were asked to collect absentee ballots from the drop-off box every hour. Every hour we were doing it. And we were receiving the ballot to the QVF on November 3rd, every hour. So
every hour you were doing what?
Receiving the ballot. We will go to the drop-off box in front of the satellite location, and we will collect the absentee ballots. We'll bring it to the table, and whatever you are doing, you will set aside all the work that you are doing. You will make sure the ballot is, because for the Michigan's election, Michigan official manual, this is written. Immediate recording of the ballot is required into the QVF. Immediate recording. Once you receive the ballot, immediate recording is required. Not after 3 days or after 2 days, no.
Your supervisor, Carol Aldridge.
We were doing that in our satellite sites per the Michigan's, what is written in the manual.
Was anybody else doing what you were doing?
Oh, my center, there was another processor, my supervisor, all three of us, we were doing that.
Your supervisor ordered you, though, not to invalidate any ballots, not to look for deficiencies, not to check signatures. And then when you did it, she got angry at you, didn't she?
That's the one at TCF Center, Miss Aldridge.
Miss Aldridge.
Yes. Oh, she was so angry, and you know what she did? It was around 11 o'clock. She said, Miss Sekhar, you can take your lunch break. I said, I just had my snack. It's only 11 o'clock. She said, no, take lunch break. I said, what, 30 minutes? No, you can take 2-hour lunch break. Just take 2-hour lunch break. When I said, okay, I will leave my bag and my jacket and everything here, she said, no, take everything. and you can go upstairs. And she showed me where is the escalator. Go to upstairs. That's where the lunchroom is. So I had to go. I left my laptop on the table there. I went there upstairs, and there were lots of people, and I was, because of the COVID, I didn't eat anything. I just actually there were free lunch for everybody, so I just ate applesauce. That's how. When I came down,
Jesse, before we get there, why don't you tell us what that dispute was about? You put a sticky on the ballot saying that it was an invalid ballot.
Yes.
Because it was issued after the deadline.
Yes.
And she wanted you to backdate it, correctly? Correct?
Yeah, let me explain. What happened was when I was told to enter November 2nd as the receipt date, I noticed one of the ballot, the date was November 3rd, absentee ballot. The deadline for absentee ballot issuance is November 2nd, 4 p.m. So it was issued on November 3rd, election day. It was received, received everything on November 3rd. Then I checked whether that voter is a no registered vote, newly registered. No, he was not registered on November 3rd. He was registered sometime in 2010, 10 years ago. So you are not supposed to issue absentee ballot on election day to already registered voters. So I told, and then I right away I talked to Mr. Daniel Baxter. He was standing next to me. I put a note.
Please tell us who Mr. Baxter. So Mr. Baxter was right nearby.
Yes.
And you gave the ballot to him
with that sticky note.
And is his name Daniel Baxter?
Yeah, Mr. Daniel.
And what's his role? What's his title?
I know he. I don't know whether he is the director. I know he was in charge of the operation on that floor. One of the senior most.
Okay. We'll find out what his role was. And what about, wasn't his boss there too? A gentleman named Chris Thomas?
Yes. So when I did that ballot.
What did they conclude about this invalid ballot?
So with a sticky note, because with all this noise and everything in the TCF center and with the mask, when you talk, they won't be able to hear. So I always used to write down the sticky note so that they know exactly what I am trying to convey to them. So I wrote invalid so-and-so reason. It was issued on November 3rd, absentee ballot after the deadline. So I showed to Mr. Baxter, and he took that to, Mr. Chris Thomas was standing nearby. So he showed that to Mr. Thomas with a sticky note. And after Mr. Thomas read that note, he said, yeah, she is right. But why should we punish voters for processors' mistake? Okay, that's what he said. Why should we punish voters for processors' mistake?
But was he in charge of the effort for Detroit? Was he the person in charge?
That's what I found out.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, that's what I found out later. I know. Yes.
And then, maybe we can summarize some of the.
Yes. And then after that, after that statement from Mr. Chris Thomas, he gave that ballot back to Mr. Daniel Baxter, and I again told Daniel Baxter, I'm sorry, I cannot receive this ballot. This is invalid. Then it's your call, I told Mr. Daniel Baxter. So he took that ballot from me and dropped that ballot. There was a box next to Mr. Chris Thomas' table, underneath the table. He just dropped that ballot into that box. I don't know what happened after that.
Well, let me see if I can shorten it just a little. After a short time, you were told to go to lunch for 2 hours, right?
Yes.
And you went to lunch for an hour and a half.
Yeah, about 2.
And you came back.
Yes.
And another gentleman named George Azuz gave you some ballots to work on.
Yes.
And Carol Aldridge saw you there.
Yeah.
She came down from the podium.
Yeah.
And what did she tell you?
So when I came back from lunch, my seat was gone. There was a box on top of the laptop. My laptop was on the table. So basically nobody was even, Miss Aldridge was, she was totally ignoring me. She didn't want me to be there at the podium anymore. So I was on the floor level. I found a table and a chair. I sat there. So when I was sitting there, I saw Mr. George Azuz. I think he is, later I found out he's the director of the elections, the election headquarters. So, but I have seen him when I was working at the election headquarters. So I recognized him. And I said, I didn't know his name at that point, but I said, I'm here, I can help, can I have a laptop and I can start validating these ballots. So right away he went to the podium and brought the laptop to me, and I logged into the laptop, and he also gave me like a bunch of about 10, 15 ballots, same thing that I was doing in the morning. But he didn't know what happened, what was going on in the morning. He didn't know. So he basically was giving an assignment. He was telling me to do it. So when I started doing it, again, same thing, November 2nd, ended November 2nd. So Ms. Aldrich saw that from the podium that I'm at the floor level, and also she saw I have the ballots. She came down from the podium. She said, do not, I was checking the signature and, just whatever process you are required to do. She said, do not check the signature, keep going. I told you in the morning, November 2nd, keep going. And she said, do not write anything. Do not write post-it. I do not want you to write anything. At that point, I saw Chris Thomas standing nearby on the floor level. I showed that ballot in the QVF. And after I searched the voter, I showed the signature on the QVF file and also the signature on the envelope. Totally different.
The signatures were totally different?
Yes.
Who did you show that to?
To Mr. Chris Thomas. And
what did he say?
He said, oh, that's okay. Let it go. Just let it go. That's fine. Okay, let it go.
He was the boss, right?
Yes. So, but at that point, I couldn't do anything that, because when I am entering the ballot, when they are telling me to enter November 2nd, or the date to be received November 2nd or November 4th, which date I will initial on the ballot? November 4th or November 2nd? I couldn't do it.
So how would you describe how they treated you and how you reacted to it?
Oh, it is, they treated me like a criminal, humiliated me, harassed me, so intimidating. I mean, I couldn't, it was so bad. I really want to serve the city of Detroit, very truthfully and sincerely. That's what I was doing all these 34 years I've been working with the city. My whole family, we are proud that we are working, me and my husband both are working for the city of Detroit. I never expected this kind of treatment. It was really, really bad. So then at that moment, when George Azuz told me, come up here, take all your stuff from there, come up here to the podium. Then I went back to the podium. Then he told me, he gave me another chair to sit there. Then I saw the state representative, Miss Pierce, Carol Pierce. She was sitting there, and I went to her and I asked her for more ballots to validate. And she was also very rude. She said, I don't need you here. You know, I don't need any of your help. Get out of here. And then I asked her, may I know your name? You know what she did? She took her badge and threw at me. She threw the badge at me.
Were you, your whole experience there, were you shocked at the level of crookedness that was going on and dishonesty?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Did it happen every day?
I mean, then November 4th at TCF Center, around 5:30, I decided to stay. They didn't give me any work. I even asked Daniel Baxter, can I do something else? I can help with the counting board table, anything you want me to do. I came here to work till 5:30. Nobody was giving me anything. I just sat there and 5:30, around 5:30, Mr. George Azus came to me and said, I'm so sorry, Jesse, you didn't do anything wrong. I apologize. I'm so sorry. That's what he told me. When he asked me my business card, I had my business card with me. I gave him my business card and I decided to go home around 5:30. But he was nice to me, George Azus. But I can never forget what I went through. I was really concerned if these barracks were problematic, why they were bringing that to the podium. It should have been kept at the counting board table and it should have been resolved. Whatever the issue with those ballots, it should have been resolved at the respective counting boards. It should not have been even brought to the podium in the first place. So I don't know. I really don't know. And also after they fixed that ballot, who was taking ballot to where? I don't know. So everything what was going on at the podium was not right.
Jesse?
Yes.
The podium is where they bring the ballots that have big problems, right? Special problems.
Yeah, some of them didn't have the counting board, so they could not locate that ballot. That ballot belonged to which counting board. Some of the ballot didn't have the ballot number.
So these were ballots with extra special problems. And you were there a day and a half. And how many ballots were examined while you were there? And there was no inspection by a Republican inspector. Can you estimate that for me? I think in the past you told me 25,000.
Actually, I worked at the Cowboy TCF Center on November 4th from 8:30 to 5:30.
Correct.
And then when I asked George Azus, I told George Azus, actually I was told to continue to work for the election department till November 20th. So I asked George Azus, where do you want me to come tomorrow? And he said, oh, we are all done here. You can go back to the election headquarters. So I went back to election headquarters on November 5th. So basically they allow me to be there only on one day, not even one day, maybe for 2 hours, but I was there till 5:30. But I had to go through this so inhumane. I mean,
is there anything else you'd like to say, Jesse, about your experience?
I just want to be so thankful. I've been in this country for 35 years. I'm so thankful for this country, for all the opportunities. And I am who I am because of this nation. And also I'm a devoted Catholic, and I was able to go to church and pray and rosary and everything. I really love this country, and I really want to do. I hope this will help this nation. That's the only reason I'm here. And also my 3 children. Thank you, Jesus, for all the blessings and graces that you are showering upon us and on all this nation. I have nothing else to say. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jesse. Would you say, Jesse, that that was an experience you never expected to have, that much crookedness and dishonesty at the Detroit Center for Counting Votes? Were you shocked at the level of dishonesty and crookedness there?
Yes, I mean, the whole center was so kind of noisy.
Representative.
I love my city, Detroit. I've been in the city for 34 years. I've been serving the citizens of Detroit, so I'm so happy. They are all nice people. I'm not saying they don't deserve this. They are nice people. My supervisor at the engineering department, I've been with the city for 34 years, from 2007 through 2010. I was the city engineer appointed by Comey Kilpatrick. And now I am the head engineer. I'm working with my supervisor and my director. They are all very nice people. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm talking about this, my experience when I worked at the elections, first time in my life, for 2 months, about 2 months, what I experienced. But as an employee of the city of Detroit, I'm so grateful to them. I'm so thankful to each and every of my co-workers. They are all very nice. So please don't misunderstand me, Miss.
And please direct your question to the chair.
Miss Johnson, please don't take it.
Yeah. So I will, if it's all right, we'll start here now. And Mr. Mayor, I do want to remind you, I mean, we're not going to go till 1 or 2 a.m. So I understand that, you know, this is somebody, I mean, obviously you're very brave to come forward with your story. I can tell you care a lot about your job, your work. And I appreciate you sharing it here today, because I know it's been difficult for you.
Yes, it is.
With that, I'm going to open it up to questions. We'll do one question per member who wants it. Then when you're done, we'll move on. And Mr. Mayor, with the next witnesses, we're going to have to move along faster.
Sure, we will.
All right. With that, I'll move on to Representative LaFave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming and testifying today. And I'm very glad that you decided to be a part of our country. Welcome.
Thank you.
I have one question as per the rule. And it might sound like a series. Anything that I say is wrong, please correct me, okay?
Sure.
You were told to enter the ballots at the TCF hall as received on 11/2.
Yes.
And that was not the date. You also were told by Mr. Chris Thomas, why should we punish voters for processors' mistakes? And Chris Thomas identified a ballot that you showed him within a signature that did not match the qualified voter file.
Yes.
And directed, Chris Thomas said, let it go, that's fine.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Representative LeGrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and ma'am, thank you for being here today. I'm going to refer back to my notes here. This is about, I don't know, maybe around 6:30 we got to this. You said that about, and I'm reading from my notes here, so if I get this wrong, again, feel free to correct me. But if I understand your testimony, you're saying that about 14 days before the election, your supervisor, Carla, told you that people could vote without ID. And you said that for your peace of mind, you insisted that people provide ID. Are you aware that people in Michigan can vote without identification? In fact, I've always voted that way.
Okay.
You're not aware of that?
Members of the audience, please, let's be respectful. Thank you.
Ma'am, are you aware of that, ma'am?
0 to 14 days, 0 to 14 days, that is the restricted registration time. You have to have the ID and also the proof of residency. And if you don't have the driver's license, you have to submit an affidavit, and also you have to have a passport or something, photo ID. That's my understanding.
Okay, you're confused. Thank you.
Representative Steve Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When you are processing these ballots, at any point in time, were there ever any poll watchers, poll challengers, and if so, were they from both parties or just one party?
Just from Democratic Party. Actually, one day I happened to talk to one of the persons. She came from DC Democratic Party. I don't remember seeing anybody from the other party.
Representative C.A. Johnson. Representative C.A. Johnson, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Johnson.
Your name is Jesse
Jacob.
Jesse Jacobs. Is that your birth name?
Okay. My first name is Jesse. When I was married, my husband's last name is Jacob. When I got married in 1983, 37 years ago, I had my maiden name. That's my dad's house name. It's a long name.
Can you spell it, please?
K like kite, IZHAKEKARA.
Representative, what is your question, please?
I'm asking the question.
Well, please ask.
She gave a lot of information. I just want to know who
And-
she is.
Representative, please, it's reasonable to ask the name of the person.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. But now that you know it,
What was your first name?
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jessy, not E.
Jessy.
Y.
Thank you very much.
okay, now please move on to your question, Representative.
That's it. You asked
Okay.
that one.
Thank you. Representative,
My middle name is Sunny. My middle name is Sunny. Sunny.
and I think it's important, Representative C.A. Johnson. I mean, if that was, we're not here to intimidate people. I mean,
That's okay. That's okay.
okay. I mean, we want to hear what happened. So, Representative Camilleri, please proceed with your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Giuliani, before you
I'm
began,
going to gavel this. The question is for the witness. As I told you at the end, you're able to ask a question to Mr. Giuliani.
we have 3 people actually before our panel today. Each of them is
Representative,
before our panel, and I know that you gave your power away to Mr. Giuliani to ask questions during this part of the testimony. That's fine, but it is now my right as a representative to ask a question of the people before our committee. This is not for. This is
You're
not
out of order.
This is not
You
for
do not
citizens
have a question.
landscaping. This is a committee of the state legislature. I should have a right to ask a question of who is before us.
I will allow you to ask a question at the end of Mr. Giuliani, as I stated at the beginning. If you have a question for the witness, Ms. Jacob, please ask it. If you don't, then I'm going to move on.
Ms. Jacobs, I know that you've given testimony previously. We've heard your story in the media. I know that you gave testimony yesterday as well. Judge Kenny in Wayne County Circuit Court.
May I ask?
He has
testimony yesterday.
I apologize.
Okay, Representative,
I
please
apologize.
tell us your question.
Very misleading.
You've asked a lot of misleading questions yourself, Mr. Giuliani.
Representative Camilleri, please, what is your question?
My question, Ms. Jacobs, is Judge Kenny has ruled that your testimony in court is incorrect and not credible. So why should we believe anything that you said here today?
I'm not aware of any such ruling. She's never been a witness in court. It would have been impossible for a judge to.
Your affidavit was ruled
May I please finish?
incorrect and not
May
credible.
I have the courtesy of finishing?
No.
What?
She has never been a witness in court, so no judge could ever have assessed her credibility.
What is your question, Mr. Camilleri?
Why are we listening to your story here today if it has already been ruled incorrect and not credible by a judge in court?
It has not been ruled.
It has. Well,
Okay.
This is not a court,
Representative,
this is a committee. Why do you keep objecting to what I'm saying?
Representative, is there an answer to that?
Okay, you can go and ask the judge who denied that. Okay, I don't know anything about it.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on. Vice Chair Riley with a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my question, I noticed you said you looked at some of the signatures. Well, like what percentage of the signatures would you say did not match or did not?
No, when I was at the satellite sites working as a processor, I always made sure the signatures matched. This was at TCF Center on November 4th.
Yeah, and at that point, did you look at any of the signatures?
Yes,
And
and I showed that to Mr. Chris Thomas, and he said, let it go. It was totally different, let it go. And after that, I was kicked out. I was told not to validate any more ballots.
so just one chance, okay,
So that day, yes.
thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, there are no more questions for you, Ms. Jacob. Thank you for your testimony today. You're very brave coming here, and thank you.
Thank you so much. I am so thankful to this honorable body for having me and for listening to me. Thank you so much.
I understand we have next, is it Melissa Carbone? Carone? All right, please come up when you're ready, and if possible, if we can limit this to 10 minutes, I'd appreciate that. Mr. Giuliani, you indicated that the first person was somebody who hadn't testified before, didn't testify yesterday. Sure, and so we gave
felt
her
uncomfortable interrupting her.
No, I understand, and I think she had a very valuable story to tell, and she was very brave coming here. Obviously, a great risk, and we understand that. But from here on, if we can condense these testimonies, if we can allow more questions to come from the members, we'd appreciate that, sir. So with that, please, Melissa, we'd like to hear your story, and please, when you're ready, proceed.
Melissa, why don't you tell us your name and tell us as briefly as you can what happened when you were working for Dominion.
Sure. My name is Melissa Carone. I was contracted to work for Dominion Voting Systems. I'm a freelance IT worker. I was contracted to work for Dominion to assist with IT during the election. I started work at 6 a.m. on November 3rd at the TCF Center. I got off work at 5 a.m. November 4th. Went home, went to bed, returned to work at 10 a.m. November 4th, stayed until approximately 2 p.m. November 4th. When I got off, I had a doctor's appointment. I was supposed to come back to work. One of the Dominion employees, he's in my affidavit, his name is Samuel, texted me and said, we're almost done counting ballots. We don't need you to come back. It was getting a little rowdy when I left. I really didn't want to come back anyways. So that is why that I was contracted to work for Dominion, assisting with IT.
And when you were working there, what did you observe?
I observed numerous employees, city workers, running batches of ballots through the tabulators countless times without discarding them first. The tabulating machines would jam 2 to 3 times an hour. When they would jam, the correct process would be to pull out the problem ballot that jammed. Say the problem ballot was number 24 out of 50. I wasn't allowed to touch any hardware at all. I would assist them, tell them to pull out this ballot, put the problem ballot on top. In Michigan, our ballots from the tabulators don't just drop into steel ballot boxes. They are now, as they got tabulated, they are now on top of the tabulating machine. Okay, so instead of them taking these, so say, let's keep it number 25 is the problem ballot, it got jammed. So the computer would throw an error. It would say ballot number 25, there's an error. I would say pull out ballot number 25, slowly pull it out, put it on top, take the ballots that had already been tabulated, which are on top of the tabulating machine now, put them all back in a stack, discard the entire batch, and re-scan it. Instead of discarding, they were just re-scanning, counting ballots 9 to 10 times, counting votes 9 to 10 times.
So they were counting the same ballot, the same vote, 9 or 10 times.
Yes, sir. They were counting them 9.
How many times did you observe them?
These machines would jam 2 to 3 times an hour. Each machine, there were approximately 22 to 24 tabulating machines in the TCF center. I observed it thousands of times.
Thousands of times? And how many machines? Were there 20 machines, approximately?
Approximately between 22 to 24.
And were there any Republicans who were observing, or just Democrats?
I saw very few Republicans, about 3.
How about those 20 machines? Did you see any of them observing those 20 machines where the ballot was being put in 10 or 20 times?
Big question. I got some of them questioning me. My manager had came up to me. I had called my manager over to a specific tabulating machine. I showed him a number on it, which was close to 500. It should never go over 50. Ballots come in batches of 50. I said, we have a severe problem here. Nick Autonomogenous, which is a part owner of Dominion. And he said, Melissa, I don't want to hear that we have a problem. He said, we are here to assist with IT. We are not here to run their election. That is exactly what he said to me. At that point, I was just really frustrated and upset. I could tell what was going on. I knew what was going on at that point.
What was going on?
We are here to assist with IT. We are not here to run their election. That is exactly what he said to me. At that point, I was just really frustrated and upset. I could tell what was going on. I knew what was going on at that point.
What was going on?
He was in on it. He was in on it. They were all in on it.
In on what?
They were cheating. It was very, very apparent. It was apparent he knew. It was apparent that he was in on it. And when he caught on to me knowing that he was in on it, he just wanted nothing to do with me.
Now, did there come a time when 2 vans pulled up in the back late at night?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Approximately 4 o'clock, the garage door of the TCF center opened. The counting room in the TCF center is in the basement. So when the garage door opened, a van pulled up. One on day shift, one on night shift. They were supposed to be for food because they were short on food for the workers. That's what they said over the microphone. That's what Daniel Baxter said. He said they had food for 1/3 of the workers, and that they would provide food and it would be there shortly. Well, food never came out of these vans.
Yes, what's your point of order, Representative?
They should be under, we should have them under
Oh,
oath.
Representative, we don't do that. Representative, we're not going to do that. You're out of
I have
order.
an affidavit.
You're out of order, Representative. We don't do that here in Michigan. We've never done that.
I wrote an affidavit.
Mr. Chairman,
We're gonna move on.
she has an
And Biden
affidavit.
never has done.
She has an affidavit under oath.
And it should not be
Representative.
under oath.
please continue. And if we could have fewer back and forth, and maybe you can tell your story. No, I'm talking with Mr. Giuliani. We really want to get through this, and this is sort of a format that is a little unusual to our committee. So if it's possible to tell a little more of your story, and I understand you're trying to speed it up, but we want to make sure we get through everything today, Mr. Giuliani.
And reach them for your affidavit. That's your affidavit.
Sure. So I have 19 things in my affidavit. I was at the TCF Center for 27 hours. I'm a mother. I have 2 children and I have 2 degrees. I'm very, I would never, I don't know any woman in the world that would write an affidavit under oath just to write it. You know, you can go to prison for this. So anyways, I want to make this very clear. I was initially supposed to work at the Detroit Department of Elections building. That was an order by my manager, Nick Economagounis, part owner of Dominion. I have it all in emails. I was trained on the adjudication and tabulation process. So in the email, it says you are to park in a parking lot and get shuttled over to this, they referred to it as the Chicago warehouse. I know for a fact there was illegal activity going on there. People have pictures of people carrying ballots out of that place. There is pictures of vans full of ballots coming out of that place. If it wasn't for my mother, I would have went there. My mom told me, no way. You know, this sounds really, really weird. And I have 2 young children, as I stated, that I needed access to my vehicle in case something happened. I ended up telling them that, and they said, okay, we'll put you at the TCF Center. Well, Samuel, there was 5 employees, 3 permanent employees of Dominion, 2 contract employees, me, a contract employee, and there was a 90-year-old man. Last name Smiley. I have all of his paperwork. I have all their names, last names. 4 employees that were scheduled to work in the city of Detroit that were not at the TCF Center were all at this Chicago warehouse, which was the city election department building. Anyways, so I also witnessed there was a point in the night where Samuel and Nick said that there was a big data loss. They started freaking out, stepped off the stage, got on their phones. I asked them what was going on. They said it was taken care of. Nick sent Samuel over to this warehouse for about 3 hours. When he got back, I said, where were you? Where'd you go? He said, I was at the warehouse. And I said, what were you doing there? And he's like, you know, nothing, they just needed my help. Well, I said, where is this warehouse? And he said, because I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together yet, that I, you know, was initially supposed to work there, because I'd never even looked up the address. And what I believe is it wasn't a data loss. It was actually when they found out Trump was ahead 100,000 votes, and they sent Nick over there to assist with these ballots that came in these vans full of ballots that people can attest to, that they witnessed being carried out of these vans at the TCF Center. I didn't see any ballots being carried out of vans. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see anything being carried out of them, but I know people who have and that did see this. occurring. But I also witnessed the adjudication process. Numerous adjudicators machines were, all the ballots were being judged by 2 Democrats. I heard them talking. One woman said to another woman, "Are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat?" She said, "I'm a Democrat." And she said, "Well, so am I. Let's sit together." Sat together all night judging ballots. You know, I mean, thousands of ballots got judged all night by the reason the rule's there is so, you know, it can be a fair process. It wasn't a fair process. It wasn't a fair process at all. And the tabulating problem with them running numerous ballots through these tabulators and just continuing to do it. I had a friend that I knew for over 20 years, and he came up to me and said, he was working the night shift. He came up to me and said, "Melissa, we did not get any training at all, none." He goes, "I have no idea what I'm doing." He was with 3 other people. I said, I just told my manager that. I said, "I could tell you guys don't know what you're doing." And he said, "Nope, we wwere trained on the adjudication process, not the tabulation process." And I said, "So you don't know what you're doing?" And he said, "Nope." I said, "Great, that's just great." Because nobody was helping me. I was, you know, running around assisting these people all night long. And it was all day and all night. It was crazy. And they were running these ballots through without discarding them countless times. There were so many ballots ran through these tabulators numerous times. I mean, without any oversight at all. I mean, there's so much. This election, I will say, these Democrats took every avenue possible to commit fraud in this election. And what I saw on the 3rd and 4th was over 20 counts of fraud being taking place in front of my face. And this isn't counting, you know, the ballots that are found in rivers, the ballots found under rocks, the ballots, you know, that ended up.
Representative, please. Representative, do you have a point of order?
I love how you can
What's
just
your
say
point of
whatever
order?
you want to say.
Do you have a point of order, Representative?
She's just. This is funny.
All right. Ma'am, please continue.
Yeah, so,
And also, by the way, I mean, can you maybe speak to your experience? I know we've heard stories of ballots being thrown in rivers, but I want to make sure we're speaking to your experience because we have limited time and we got to get our questions in and the other witnesses. So is there more to your experience? And then,
well, okay, I called the FBI on the 8th, November 8th. I talked to 2 separate women, over 40 minutes. The first one gave her all my information. The phone mysteriously cut out, and she never called me back. I was waiting for her to call me back. She never called me back. I had to call them back, and they never called me back. Never got a call back. Still haven't got a call back. And I had somebody else working on it that has a neighbor that's an old FBI agent, and still haven't heard back from that.
Can I ask you just one last question?
Sure.
So how many ballots would you estimate in front of you that you observed were counted multiple times in the machine? Can you put a number to it, an estimated number?
At least 30,000.
At least 30,000. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. And I guess I'll ask a question. I just want to understand. So what is your role with Dominion? Can you clarify that?
My role with Dominion was to assist with IT for the election.
So are you, you're some kind of contract employee?
I was a contract employee, yes.
Okay, of what organization?
I'm sorry.
So were you were like a contract employee of Dominion, or was there some
So I have my
contractor?
resume everywhere,
Yeah.
you know, and because I was laid off from Ford.
Mhm.
So they just found my resume and called me and said, do you want to work the election, the 3rd and the 4th?
I see, but you were employed directly by Dominion?
Did Dominion pay me? No. PDS staffing paid me.
Okay.
Because they called me, but I was working for Dominion, yes.
Okay.
Something very, very suspicious too, must I add, that we were not allowed to wear name tags at all. We were not allowed to talk about who we worked for. They were very secretive. They didn't want anybody knowing anything about them.
And so I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. So you said you're alleging that you heard or that you witnessed ballots being put in the machine, run through, counted, and then put through it again? Is that what you're alleging?
Without discarding.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I am telling you to be a fact.
And and how many times did you witness this happening?
I witnessed it in a 27-hour period, thousands and thousands of times.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I will note, Dominion won't come before this committee. I've asked them, and so far they've refused. And I do want them to come before this committee because we need answers from them about how their machines work. So we're going to continue to try to get them here. But with that, I'll go to Representative LaFave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I am not sure how I'm going to do this with one question, but I'm going to try my best anyway. So with these tabulator machines, of which you estimate there are approximately 22 to 24, I guess I'm not understanding. So you place batches of 50 on top of the machine?
No. Okay, so we're gonna look. I'm gonna try to explain it to you as if it's a printer. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So a printer, when the papers come out of the printer, that's where these tabulators, that's where you would feed the 50 in. Okay. Now, on top of the printer, right? So where the scanner would be, right? If it's like a 4-in-1, right? So that's where these ballots would come out after they had been tabulated, okay? So if one jammed, number 25 jammed, right? Then it would put up an error. Discard, rescan. Ballot number 25 has an issue. So they would then take all the ballots that had been tabulated from the top, right? That are now on the top, the 24 that are on the top, the ones that are on the bottom that haven't been tabulated yet, okay? And number 25, the problem ballot, they would put number 25 on top, they would discard the entire batch, and then they would rescan it. Instead of discarding it, they would rescan them, counting those 24 again, okay? Now, let's say it was out of 50, number 48 jammed. That's 47 being counted again. I'm just using you know what I'm saying? So, does that clarify that? Okay.
It does.